Can this be done by Thursday or Friday? Senator Gazelka just said on the Senate floor he's hopeful special session Thursday and or Friday.
You know, I don't think so, and not only do I not think so, I don't think we should. I don't think it makes sense. This has been the least productive, least transparent session in the history of the state. Minnesotans should be ashamed of the process at the end of this legislative session. They passed one budget bill to the governor's desk, one budget bill. The last time they passed only one budget bill or less was 1985. This has been a horribly non-transparent process. They actually, this last bill that they tried to pass without giving us any time to read the bill was actually posted for us publicly to see, or we were notified of the posting after it had passed the Senate. There was no time to read this bill. And we also found out that a conference committee didn't even sign off on didn't meet publicly, so the public had no input. They just simply signed the report and filed the bill for us to take up. While that meets the legal requirement, it doesn't meet what Democrats in the Minnesota House said they were going to do. A lot of folks have asked us about suspending the rules and what that means for special session. The governor and the two leaders, majority leaders, entered into an agreement on a budget in the state. They did not include the minority leaders. They said that they were going to have a transparent and open process. They did not. What will be dependent on us suspending the rules will be if they can change course and actually create an open, transparent process where people can be involved in the process. I'm not going to stand for this dark of night, making decisions behind closed doors with no one knowing what's in the bill. The authors of the bills didn't know what was in the bills. We didn't have spreadsheets. The spreadsheets that we did get didn't match the bills. This is an absolute shame on the Democrats who are running the chamber in the Minnesota House of Representatives. And they were the ones who said they were going to do it different and going to do it better. And they did it worse than anyone I've ever seen in the history of the state.
Any change, or have you talked with them about the bonding bill since we chatted, earlier this evening? Have there been any developments since then?
I was first approached this session about a bonding bill at 1:30 this afternoon on the very last day of the legislative session. I don't think it serves people well when that's such an afterthought that we're not thinking about it until the later half of the day on the very last day of session. We're also not happy about Democrats insistent on raising health care costs in the state of Minnesota by putting a provider tax on every health care procedure in the state. By the way, I know Representative Winkler wanted to claim that this is a health care fee that goes to actually cover health care. It is not. The things that the provider tax was put in place to cover are now covered by the federal government. The provider tax literally goes into a slush fund to pay general fund expenses. This is bad public policy to tax sick people to pay for wasteful spending in our general fund. It's absolutely shameful, and frankly, Minnesotans should not stand for it. What Democrats insisted on in the state of Minnesota was making health care more expensive for Minnesotans. I don't know how they can face the voters after this.
You talking about Senator Gazelka? I mean, he agreed to this.
Well, I think he had to agree to something, right? You couldn't have the governor walk away with nothing. But the Democrats' demands of $12 billion worth of tax increases over the next 4 years on Minnesotans were absolutely unreasonable. And if people want to know why this session was a failure, why we ended with the least productive session since 1985, it's because Democrats demanded $12 billion of tax increases and wouldn't give until the very last minute. And frankly, they gave on everything except their demand to raise health care costs on Minnesotans. It's absolutely shameful and unacceptable, and Minnesotans should demand better of their elected officials.
Your criticisms of House Democrats on the transparency, doesn't that go for Senate Republicans as well? I mean, they were just as responsible for the lack of open meetings today.
Well, I'm going to let them answer for that, but I see what happens here in the Minnesota House, and it was Minnesota House Democrats who said they were going to be transparent all along. Every opportunity, they said they were going to do it different, they were going to do it better, and they broke their word to Minnesotans, not only on the campaign trail when they said they were going to lower costs, and then they came here in the chamber and at every opportunity voted to raise health care costs on Minnesotans. They broke their word, and this was the least transparent session in state history. Minnesotans should be ashamed of the Democrats' conduct in the Minnesota House of Representatives.